Hello, my name is Sherilyn and I'm a music teacher from Malaysia. In this podcast, you will hear me share stories about my teaching career and other stuff that interests me, such that I want to share with you. Stay tuned and listen to what's coming next in this episode. Hello listeners, welcome back to another episode of Adventures of a Music Educator, and that's me. So in this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about virtual school exams. So if you have listened into the first episode, you will know that I am currently working for an international school and it's pretty new. So school term started in January, and during that time Malaysia was going through lockdowns. Every now and then it was very inconsistent because people here just don't know how to behave, it seems. So my school decided to have virtual lessons right at the beginning of the term, even though the rest of the country wasn't in lockdown yet. And so that was my first time teaching virtually. And at the time of this recording, I have just completed my invigilation for our first school test, which was held virtually. So that was quite an experience because I have invigilated exams physically, and it's quite easy in the sense that all the students are already seated apart. They have their own tables and chairs. The invigilating teacher can walk around the class quietly and make sure everyone is doing their best and no one is cheating. But virtual exams is really different, and I think it's very stressful. It's even more stressful as compared to virtual teaching because we have to make sure that the students have their cameras on at all times. And it's really funny because my school management informed us that normally during virtual lessons, there are students who are reluctant to turn on their cameras. That's understood. Can you imagine having the camera turn on all the time? And so during the exams, it is a requirement. So miraculously, it is during the exam that you will see all your students. Okay, but the most important part of the exams with the camera on is so that we can see where their hands are, and of course the best is we can see their face and their hands and their test paper, of course. So the whole purpose of turning on the camera is to make sure that they don't cheat. Okay, to make sure that they are not typing or clicking their mouse away furiously, because the students are still writing on their own foolscap paper or a blank piece of paper where they write down their answers. And after they're done with the test, they will have to use this app called CamScan, where the app helps you to take pictures of your physical work, and it will compile that work into a PDF file. And after that, the student will have to send that file to the invigilating teacher. Okay, that's the style for my school. So so before the exams, we the invigilators, we have to make sure that the cameras are on, the students has access to the exam paper, whether physical or digital. Because why some are physical is because for primary students, the parents will pick up the test papers and it will only be released to them at the exam time. Whereas for the secondary students or the middle schoolers or high schoolers, they will access that paper via Google Classroom. Yeah. So our job as the invigilating teacher is to ensure that they have, a proper exam environment that is not noisy, and they have proper lighting so that we can see them. what they're doing, and to make sure that they're not doing anything funny. So I find this experience both amusing and torture at the same time, because during virtual teaching, as a teacher, we are teaching, we are talking, we are clicking around, but during the exam, we are just watching the students doing their tests for an hour and a half, or maybe even 2 hours. Imagine how it is like for my colleagues. I don't know what they're doing, but at least for me, I'm doing my best. But since I can have my earphones on, well, I do try to sneak in listening to other podcasts while watching them so that I don't get so bored. Yeah. and of course, if I notice any funny sounds, I make sure that my podcast volume is not too loud so I can hear what's happening on the other side. And if you're wondering, yes, the students are also asked to have their mics turned on so that we know they are not listening to someone giving them answers and things like that. Or if they try to Google search, things like that. I wonder how other schools do it, but I guess the format is roughly the same. Yeah. So, and student behavior varies during these exams. Like for the elementary or the primary kids, I really pity them because we are watching them like a hawk. We are making sure they're not doing anything funny. And I have to constantly remind those more rowdy ones to keep their hands on their paper because they're not supposed to be clicking or typing. Okay, that's the point for the elementary students. Whereas for the middle schoolers, we have to make sure that they are constantly writing because most of their work is writing. And yes, they're not supposed to be clicking, but they are allowed to scroll for a while to, check their questions and do the reading. But other than that, if we catch them doing anything suspicious, we will make sure that they adjust the camera. We make sure that they can see. We can see them, definitely. Yeah, so I hope that this pandemic situation will improve so that we can get back to normal and do even school exams like normal, so that it's not too inconvenient. I think the thing about this virtual exams is very inconvenient and it's very stressful and it's very high cost because if the students cameras don't work well on their laptop, we have to request that they use a second device, which is their mobile phones. So that might eat up quite a lot of data. And if you are using Google Meets, it's even more painful in the sense that you can't see all cameras at the same time. If there are too many people are being streamed at the same time on Google Meets, you will have to click into the students' cameras just to check that they are still on. Yeah, that's the pain about using Google Meets. Well, I hope you find this episode interesting and feel free to share your comments and feedback about the podcast through my email, sharethemusic@gmail.com. And see you soon in the next episode.